You've done it before. Great. Yeah, if you have questions, just come talk to me. It's really quite fun. The kids are always amazed at looking at the telescopes, and yeah, sometimes they swat the telescopes. So you just yeah, and Al swatting the kids. Yeah, but I don't know what else. Last weekend was a little bit on the slower side, but we typically see about 1,000 people coming through the park, which is kind of nice because we get that exposure and we don't have to pay anything for it. So it's kind of nice. Questions, thoughts? Bruce, you looked up the weather. What's it supposed to be like? It's supposed to be pretty good. Last weekend was wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, last weekend was really nice. It was sunny, sunny, sunny pretty much the whole time. I think it was maybe like a 5-minute period where the clouds came in and I couldn't find the sun anymore. And then it cleared up. It was beautiful. A little cold. So we always tell people, if you're going to come out, dress at least 10 degrees cooler than the forecast. Bring layers because you can always take them off. You just can't get warm once you're cold. We have the hardware store at Westfield. So if you want to transfer between outside and inside, there is a place to stay warm. You know, if you want to bring your lunch, you can and eat in the hardware store. That's all.
Thank you, Victor. Okay, I'll go over here. It's easier to read. So after that, the next thing we have, hopefully April 11th, that's our target at the moment, to kick off Saturday night sites up at the observatory. So Mother Nature has to cooperate for this though. So if it's still snowing, we may have to push it out a little bit more. Hopefully it will be nice. So fingers crossed. So again, we'll announce probably that week, or kind of as we are getting closer to the date, we'll have a rough idea what the weather's going to be like. So we'll keep you all posted. Keep an eye on your emails and socials. Just a few other things to note. You may have seen there's emails floating around from RASC National Office. Their annual general meeting, let me rephrase that. The General Assembly is coming up beginning of May. They are looking for volunteers to help run it and speakers. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in that, look at your email. You should have some correspondence from them. If you don't, come talk to us. We can help sync you up with them if you're interested. And then we have some other volunteer opportunities coming up this year. Again, our Young Galileos program that will be kicking off very soon. That's building the 3D printed telescopes and then helping with some of the outreach events if you're interested. Again, Saturday night sites. We'll need volunteers to help run that again this year. So every Saturday night, we'll start to get some sign-up sheets for that out so we can see who's interested. You can rotate through those Saturday nights. And the Scouts Camp. We do have a partnership with the Scouts Camp coming up. So there'll be some more information coming out about that as well. Not quite ready for that, but if you're interested in any of these volunteer positions, let us know. Next slide, Dan. Here we go. Okay, microphone's cutting in and out. The most important thing is we have our gala banquet coming up. Our gala is Wednesday, June the 10th. It will be Mandarin Restaurant at Center Mall in Hamilton East. Tickets are $50 for adults, $40 for seniors, and $25 under 16. There is free coffee and pop. And one thing to note, though, the gratuities are not included. So just to keep that in mind, you need to bring some cash with you to lay on the table for a tip if you feel that's appropriate. I don't know what's going on with the microphone. I'm trying to talk in between. Our guest speaker for the gala is Randy Atwood. I think people probably know who he is. Be doing a really interesting that evening. Oh my goodness. No, it's still doing it. I'm trying to talk in it cutting out. Okay. It does sound like I don't know if that's messing up with what here online though. Bear with us for the audio. Just some upcoming meetings. I just want to draw attention. What is coming up for the next months? Oh my goodness, that's annoying. So for the month of April, next meeting, it is Good Friday that evening. So we thought we'd have some fun. We're still going to hold meeting, but it's going to be movie. So we're gonna show a movie. Plant, yes. No, but close. We're looking at showing Contact. So if you've seen that, it's a novel written by Reagan, starred Jodie Foster back in the 90s. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just don't know if anyone online can hear them. Okay, that's better. Okay. Battery issues. Okay, so yes, so next month, again, movie night. If you're interested, come out. We'll have snacks, probably some popcorn and some drinks. So come out and watch a movie if you're interested. If you got nothing to do on Good Friday, come hang out with us. Again, the following month then for May, we're still targeting to have Jesse Rogerson come back and speak with us. He came and visited us virtually in the fall. He's going to talk about, my mind's gone blank. The asteroid. Thank you, Atlas. Thank you. Oh, one of those nights. And then in June, we're targeting to go back to the observatory for our June meeting. So that's what's coming up. We're still running our board meetings once a month. We are sending invites out for those. So if anybody's interested in listening in on a board meeting, I know this week we had a couple people, Ken joined, we had a couple people that joined and listened in and gave some good input. So if you're interested in hearing what we're talking about in the background and how we're planning things, you can listen into that. And a reminder too, that every Thursday evening is the socials on Zoom, and you should be getting an email for those every week as well. Usually comes from Mark K, or I think you'll probably see from the Hamilton mailing list. If you're interested in donating to the club, donations are always welcome, not mandatory, but if you're interested, we have a QR code now that you can scan and do a donation. Anything over $20 will give you a tax receipt. You can also do a one-time donation, or you can schedule ongoing donations. So just something to keep in mind. The money all goes back into the club and helps provide or go towards new equipment and events and things like that. So we just want to let you know we have a QR code now that makes it easier to donate if you're interested. Calendars, we have 2 left up at the front. So if you're interested in getting one of the Hamilton RASC 2026 calendars, run to the counter before they're all sold out. And you can do cash or EMT. And then we also have patches. We've got lots of patches. So if anyone's interested in a patch, $10 each. Again, cash or EMT. So this evening, as I mentioned, we've got MacMaster students here that are going to give an update for their radio interferometry and imaging concepts. But first we're going to pivot to our guest speaker, which is Andy Blanchard, which I think everybody knows. Andy is a past president of Hamilton RASC. He is going to enlighten us on the history of Hamilton RASC and some of the past presidents, and some really interesting information that you've been researching for months, right? And you have found out. So we'll switch to that. So give us a minute to switch to the other slideshow and we'll get started. Oh, sorry. Yes, the gala. Thank you, Chuck. See, if I don't have it written down, I forget. If anyone is interested in buying tickets for the gala, you can see Erin at the front. She also has a QR code for that as well that you can go scan, and then you can purchase your tickets online for that. Okay. We'll get that posted as well on our website and send out some emails so you've got that as well. Okay, bear with us a second. We'll switch slides.
Guys, can you hear me okay? I'm on. Is that better? Can you hear me? No. Yes. No. No. You're on green. I'm on green.
I hand it off to you.
Thank you very much. The baton. I see that Mark K is also on the call. Mark, please speak up if you want to add a little color to the presentation, because Roger's going to do that as well. I'm a latecomer to the club, and you gentlemen have been around for a lot of years. I want you to notice that in my slides, there's the word maybe, and that's going to reappear a couple of times. And a lot of us feel that the club is more than 120 years old. Maybe. Maybe more, maybe less. We'll find out as we go on. So my name's Andy Blanchard, and I've been the president 3 times, I think. And I have had a lot of fun over the years, and I love this club, and I love the friends that I've made. But unless you know the history, okay, you really don't know what you belong to. So we're going to learn about the history tonight. So away we go. So the roots of this club go back to 1857. And there was a society back then that was formed in Hamilton, okay, that pursued all the sciences. And they had an astronomy section. So basically a group of astronomers. And they did science for about 50 years, and they celebrated I guess you call it a bicentennial, a half of 100 years, 50 years. And one of the things that they made a big deal about at that 50-year celebration was a paper written by Witten, and he coined the term selenography. It's kind of interesting. It's mapping the surface of the moon. So in 1902, we were doing real astronomy here in Hamilton. So remember that word maybe. There was the expedition, which was kind of a failure. They went to see the solar eclipse in Labrador, and there were, of course, the clouds came in. They couldn't do that. But Marsh, who is quite a famous member of the club, and we're going to see his name several times through the presentation, they went out to Labrador to basically observe a solar eclipse. We were doing real practical astronomy way back then as a group. And I'm not going to read all the slides. I'm sure everybody's reading ahead of me right now, but look at Marsh at the last comment. He made a 5-inch refractor with a clock way back then, and we were tracking the sky. And we had an observatory back then called the Woodstock Observatory. We got it from Woodstock, Ontario, and we put it up on the mountain. And the Bordeaux skies back then were 1.5. We'll see a little bit more about the skies as we go along. Next slide, please. So 1902, you will see here that we have the Hamilton Science Academy, Hamilton Astronomical Society. That should be HAS, I'm sorry. And then we have RASC. And we can see that all of these gentlemen slid over to RASC in 1909. That's why the maybe is there, because this club has basically been operating since 1857. Kind of cool. Now, Adam Brown, who was the president for decades and decades, he was an octogenarian at this time. He was the honorary president of our society when it started. But Jenkins was actually the person who was the actual operating president, and William Bruce, another Bruce, was the co-founder. And it was actually William Bruce that ran the club until 1915. Next slide, please. So in 1908, we got the RASC charter. And we started our meetings on January 15th, 1909. And as I said, the first president was Jenkins, but Jenkins wasn't alone. Bruce is going to be an important figure going forward. Next slide. Oh, there's that maybe thing again. So 1857 to 2025, or maybe. It's actually not that far wrong. And I kind of like some interaction from you people. Do you think our club goes back to 1857 on what we've learned so far? Thoughts? Okay. Yes. Well, there's no doubt that we were doing science during that period of time. But some things happened during World War II that are going to change things a bit. So let's proceed a little further. So, as I mentioned, that Bruce and Jenkins are co-founding the club. So RASC officially began in 1908. But we're going to cover some interesting things. In 1930, there was a revival. What does a revival mean? I chose the word carefully. Then there are the War Guardians, the Planetarium Resolution, the Golden Age of the club. All of a sudden, we're looking at digital photography and the Bortle scale analysis of what happened over that period of time. So anybody know what the Bortle scale is now for us? Very good, 6.5. Okay. So 6.5 basically means that you can see the stars, but that's about it. Next slide. So if we accept that 1908 is our founding date, we're one of the oldest clubs in Canada. If you go with the 1857 date, we are the oldest club in Canada. And our focus hasn't changed. We're dedicated to outreach, to looking at the stars, to the science, to sharing our hobby. Next slide. There were a lot of presidents. Next slide. It's really hard to get this period here correct from, let's say, 2002 to 2019-ish. Not sure about those dates because we didn't keep a lot of great records. And so that was hard to structure. So I hope I got them correct. We're not going to be talking about all of those people, but we're basically standing on the shoulders of a lot of people that have gone on and done other great things. But you can see Jenkins and Bruce at the beginning. And look at 1916 to 29. Interesting. What happened? Next slide. I'm sorry. First World War, yes. Okay, so I've talked about Jenkins, and he sort of laid the groundwork for getting the club up and operating. And there was a fellow named Marsh that was supposed to be our first president, but he was transferred to Peterborough months before the registration of RASC in Hamilton. So he didn't get to be the president, and Jenkins had to step in. But he didn't do much. Bruce seemed to be doing everything. And the next year, Bruce took over as the president. So Jenkins, even though he is officially our founder, I couldn't find anything that he's really credited for other than being the president during that year. Next slide. There he is. Took me a while, but I found a picture of Mr. Bruce. And he was an astronomer. That was his profession. He was a really cool guy, and he was known for his lectures. And he served as the honorary president for decades for the club. But he was a really, really cool guy. And if you have the time, go to the club archives and read some of his lectures. They're very cool. Smart, smart, smart man. But I was impressed with him anyway. Next slide. The Elmwood Observatory. This is our second observatory. If you recall, I said there was a Woodstock Observatory. Well, members of the club used to gather there, and notice the skies now, portal 2 to 3. So even during that 10 to 15 year period, Hamilton was growing up and the stars were starting to disappear. So they would meet here, and look at the big daub out front. Kind of a cool picture, eh? Took me a while to find that. Actually, ChatGPT found it for me. So, what's that? No, I don't. It was just on Google. It found it as a Google picture. But that's where the club used to meet. And I don't know why they had the second story up there. It would be kind of obstructing things. But you know, you sit up there with your gas light on, and you wouldn't be able to see anything in the telescope. But yeah, it looks like, huh? Yeah, I guess they had their outdoor beer there. Anyway, next slide, please. So, more likely, you tell me, 1930 to 2025. So let's see what that's all about. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to take a break here for a moment. Roger, you know, you would be better off talking about these individual scopes. You know them by heart.
No. I'll tell you.
Okay, well, there you go. So what happens is that this refractor was made by Marsh. It's a big scope, 6 inches, I believe. It's a 6-inch scope, and he made the glass. He ground the glass, and he was an excellent amateur telescope maker. Would anybody care to guess what it costs to buy a telescope at this period of time in comparison to, let's say, something else that you could buy? So an amateur built telescope would still cost a pretty good amount of money, but a professionally built telescope at this period of time was the equivalent cost of a new car. So the amateur telescope makers really had no choice. They had to figure out a way to make telescopes, and they did. And we'll get to that in a moment. But I wanted to show you the scope because it's one of the prized collections that the club still owns. And if you want to see it, right now it's out at Westfield, and not a good reason, Victor, for people to come out. They can look at the antique telescopes. Let's go to the next slide. This is my favorite telescope. I was actually the custodian of this for about 10 years. I kept it in the basement of my office. This is the transit scope. And for those that don't know how a transit scope works, it only has one motion. So you can turn it just one direction and the sky slides by. It's very cool. And again, it's another amateur telescope that we have up at Westfield that you can go and see, that came into the club's possession. Not sure how, but we've had it for decades. Next slide. Okay, this little 3.5-inch scope, I shouldn't say Bernier anymore. We were going to change that. Okay, that is a Marsh telescope that was made for a Arctic explorer back at the turn of the previous century. It was a failed expedition, but the scope came back, and you can see some of the eyepieces for the scope there, and it's leather bound. It's kind of interesting. And again, Reverend Marsh made that telescope. And when the expedition came back to Hamilton, Mr. Marsh then, or Reverend Marsh, collected the telescope and made sure that it stayed in the club's collection. Next, the dark years. So 1916 to 1930, the club folded. Next slide. Reason being, aging membership. Believe it or not, most of the members, when the club was formed in 1908, were octogenarians. So by 1915, there was hardly anybody left. The war, of course, was instrumental in the fact that a lot of the youth that might have come into the club didn't come home. It's just, it was a big, ugly war. And basically, that without anybody coming into the club, there wasn't a lot of future for astronomy in Hamilton. Next slide. So in 1922, we closed our bank account and we sent $33 that was in our bank account, which is probably quite a bit of money. Okay, you got to remember, we're, 1922, that was a lot of money. We sent it to National in Toronto and they closed up the membership. So, does our membership go back? Does our club history go back to 1857? Yes, sir. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. The revival's coming. Next slide. Yeah, we closed the books. We closed the bank account. Then there was nobody on the board. It was just, it ceased to exist. Well, I tried to get an answer to that hard question, but I did find that in 1928 that National granted our charter. Okay, so it sounds like we gave up our charter as well. So in 1928, this man here, Mr. Mallory, okay, and this guy he did a lot for the club, okay. He was basically serving on the executive for 25 years, and he brought the club back to life. So we got the charter in 28. And our first meeting was in 1930. Next slide. Ooh, that's hard to see. Okay. I'm just going to talk about a couple of prominent people during this actual period. You've probably seen this picture up at the observatory. It was on the wall for many, many, many years. And Dr. Bell was a dentist, and he was an exceptionally good member of the board, and he was involved in all parts of the club. Roger, did you ever meet the man? No? Next slide. What's interesting is that he was a solar observer, and his logbooks, okay, actually, we still have them. They're in our archives, but they also went to France and they formed part of a big research project there. And we were doing some real science at this point in time. So the club has woken up and we're starting to do things. Next slide. The War Guardians. Continue on. You lose all my slides? All right. So this is where it gets interesting. Stelco had a lot of scientists, a lot of engineers, a lot of chemists, and all of a sudden, we had this really exciting thing going on. And Herbert Fox was a big part of that. Basically, what we were doing was we were taking the talent that was at Stelco and we were bringing it to the club, and we were starting to do some amateur telescope building. We were grinding mirrors. We were grinding glass for refractors, and we were doing it at precisions that weren't even available commercially. Like, we were producing things that were incredible. Next slide. Stuart, he was an educator, and his basic talent was bringing the whole astronomy subject to Hamilton, and he did like an exceptional job. And he was also our national president, and he had all kinds of great things going on for the club. I hear something, Roger.
No, I just, I didn't realize that.
Well, there you go. Next slide. Stuart, as I said, was doing incredible telescope making. And this is just a slide showing how they were grinding some mirrors. And what I found really interesting is that the big deal back then was 6-inch telescopes. And we think that 6-inch telescopes would barely do anything. But back then, we're talking about, at this point in time, in the 40s, we're looking at Bordeaux skies of 2 or 3. So we still have some really great skies here in Hamilton. And a 6-inch telescope could see a lot. Today, not so much. But then, absolutely. Next slide. Planetarium revolution, 48 to 59. Next slide. We decided that we were going down the planetarium route. Okay, and we were doing some shows, and a lot of shows. I think they did 2,500 planetarium shows back then. And you got to remember, having a planetarium back in this period of time, back in the 40s, was a big deal. Like, we were a serious club back then. Very proud of it. Next slide. Eventually, they had to, well, there you go. 2,500 shows, 150,000 people. Next slide. This one here is kind of cool. We eventually bought a parachute, a World War II parachute, and we were using that as the planetarium dome. Is that cool? All right, next slide. So this is a period of time when Roger joined the club, 1960s. Okay, so we're going to see a little bit of stuff going on here. Do you know this man?
No, but I did meet your boss.
Okay, very good. Okay, so at this point in time, the club is high energy. Okay, we're doing comet searches. We're doing meteor watches out at Rock Chapel, and we are building telescopes. The club is active. Lots and lots of members. Okay, 160 to 200 members at the time. Next slide. Our next observatory, Maidstone. Okay, I did not know that we had this observatory, and I was really surprised. We made this. We went out, we set this up, and I imagine it's still there. It's on somebody's farm. And I tried to find it, and it just said that Flamborough, so I don't know where. Yeah, I don't know where, but I imagine that this building is still there. That is a metal roof, a brick building. I'd be very surprised that it isn't still there. Maybe. Yeah, maybe, but I worked really hard to look for a location, and I had ChatGPT go through all the old orbits to see if there was any directions to the observatory. Nothing there. So, Roger, did you know about that observatory? Anyway, it's kind of cool. I thought it was anyway. 13-foot dome, completed in 63 and opened in 64. And we marched a lot of people through there for our public outreach. I don't know what scope was in there, but I bet you that it was the big 6-inch marsh with a dome that size. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in there. Next slide. Oh, the fakers. This is my favorite part. So, amateur telescope making was an art, and actually, if you go to the next slide, okay, the coining of the term was William Keating. You knew him, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, Bill Keating, and he coined the term the fakers. They made telescopes, and they believed that they could do it better because they were scientists at Stokoe. They could do it better, and in turn, they started to put a handle on themselves called the fakers, and they believed that they could do it better than the professionally made telescopes, which cost hundreds of times as much as what they spent. And it became a club, and they met every week. Roger, you said you went to one of the meetings?
Actually, I went to many of the meetings. They were up on Lowell Road up now. So like every Wednesday night, there was a general meeting or a discussion. We get together and build office.
There you go. Well, Mateo has built a big 3D printed Daub, and he was looking for a name, and I suggested that he should name the new Daub the Faker. Next slide. So there were lots of fakers over the years: Fox, Fautley, Marsh, Leslie Powis. Okay, these are people who made their telescopes and made our club. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but I just wanted to point out that we have this rich history that involves the fakers. Next slide. Big Blue, it's up at the observatory right now. It's one of the fakers. And it's sad that nobody's using it, nobody's dealing with it, but it is there. And Gary Bennett and myself, we did a little bit of construction to rebuild the woodwork on it. And I believe Eric and a few other people actually cleaned up the mirror and repolished it and recoated it. So it's come back to life, but Big Blue is up there if you want to see it. And notice that they were doing this at 1/8 of a wave. That's like incredible work. And you can't go out and buy telescopes like that. They're just not that good. And we were doing that. All that knowledge was here in our club. Next. The Chilton building. So when I joined the club, that's what the observatory looked like. That's the dome. Is that a surprise to you guys, what it looks like? Now it looks entirely different, of course. But I went out to the observatory one night back in the early 2000s, and somebody had taken a shotgun and blown a big hole in the side of the dome. And we had to take it down and rebuild a new roof. So vandalism, I guess it's always going to be there. We had a big incident a few years ago, but we had the 6-inch Marsh scope in there. And I would go out with a DSLR camera, and I would take pictures using that big telescope. What a treat. What's the focal ratio? 15, I think, isn't it? It's an f15. So you can imagine taking pictures with a DSLR at f15. It wasn't easy. So Mr. Chilton was a big mover in the club, and he got us a 100-year lease at $1 a year from the city. Pretty cool, huh? And Roger was telling me that that was a plywood dome on the top, and it was really heavy. Chilton got a crane company to donate a crane to lift up the dome and put it up there in exchange for a picture in the newspaper, which never happened. Next. So, as I said, Roger, you're up here. So, Roger Hill has been the president 6 times in the club. He's taken it from scraps, where there's been just a small number of members, and he's grown the club many times over a 50-year period. And he's steered the club. And of all the presidents that we have had, I would consider him to be the #1 president. I think he should have a hand. So about 5 years ago, I'll answer your question in a second. About 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to nominate somebody for a minor planet. And even then, before I did all the research on the history of the club, I knew that Roger was something special. And I nominated Roger to have his own minor planet. And he's taken lots of pictures of it, and I think he's gotten a lot of pleasure out of it. But Roger was and is our superhero. Thank you, Roger. Next slide. The club is now switching over to something new. We're no longer ATMs. ATM is our amateur telescope makers. We are now moving into the digital age. Is this boring? No, we're doing okay. Okay, good. So, next slide. Bought a digital camera, and Steve Barnes used to be at the observatory a lot. And the skies were still pretty good. You know, we were like playing with Bortle 4.5, 5. And he taught me how to take pictures through my 14-inch Celestron SCT. And I got the bug. It was so cool. And so much so that I used to go to the Arizona Sky Village, Star Village, Sky Village, I forget, every year. And I would get lessons from a fellow down there that would teach me a little bit about astrophotography. But Steve Barnes, he went further. Steve Barnes went down to Chile, and he had a massive astrophotography program going down there. And I went down, and it was spectacular. And as a club, we started to travel. We started to do things. We started to expand beyond Hamilton's borders. So it was very exciting. Roger, you were on one of those Chile trips. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and is it really? Wow. Steve Barnes led the way in CCD astrophotography. For me, there were other people doing CCD photography, but he was teaching. He was at the club, he was teaching, and he spent time with all of us, showing us what we need to do. We had a telescope store right here in Burlington at one time. So, next slide. This man here is incredible. He has done so much for the club. He went on to be our national president, but he was our historian. He put away miles and miles and miles of stuff into digital libraries and created a lot of the material that I use for my presentation. And I thought that it was important that we mention that Colin was a superstar for our club as well. Next slide. Jane, get ready for this. Next slide. Okay, so one of the things that the club did, and I'm not blowing my horn here, is we created a trade show and we raised a little over $100,000 for the club. God knows where it is today, but we ran trade shows for 4 years, and it fell apart when Trump got elected and none of the US vendors wanted to come to Canada. So we couldn't run it the 5th year. But Gary Bennett and myself co-founded it, and we made it work. Next slide. Jane. The new vision for the club. We're going in directions that we've never gone before, and it's going to be cool. And Jane is leading the way. She is stepping out and getting us to do things that are something we characteristically don't usually do. We're building our outreach program, and we're building telescopes again. Next slide. Oh, you know what? There's a little stop here. Let's bring up this next slide. This is Hamilton in 1909. This is Hamilton now. What a difference, huh? Wasn't hard to get a lot of people to join the club way back when those skies look like that. Wouldn't you like to go outside and see those nebulas with your eye? Well, if you want to see that, go down to Chile, because you can still see skies like that. Next one. Our focus going forward is pretty straightforward. We're a club. We enjoy the hobby. We enjoy looking up. We enjoy sharing the hobby. Next slide. So here's our future. Oh, I didn't get to your question.
Okay, thanks. I just had a question. You said that the land has been bought from 1973.
Yeah, no, $1 a year.
So until 2073, the land is already purchased and we own it?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Well, we don't own it. We lease it from the city. Yeah, we lease it. Yeah. Okay. I think this is my last slide, but I want to really make a point here. Victor, where are you? Victor came up with an idea last year from the Cincinnati Astronomy Club or Observatory. And he massaged it and reformulated it. And with the help of this man, we're building telescopes, something that we haven't done in 50 years. And we're building how many, Victor?
30 for now.
And we're doing it with 3D printers. And we're giving them away. Think about that. We're giving away 30 telescopes to the community. We are heading in an incredible direction. We are seeding the future of our club. Victor, you're a club hero. I think that's it. Questions? Next slide. I think it's, yes, questions. Any questions? Yes. A video, a YouTube video of me? No, you wouldn't want that.
I think your narration of it, I think that was a nice.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Anyone else questions? Okay, so I didn't get booed off, so that's good. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay. Oh, by the
Yeah, we're
way,
gonna take.
I did.
Okay, thanks, Andy. That was really interesting. It was. I think we all learned a lot tonight about our history. Okay, we're just going to take a short 5-minute break, and then we will come back with the MacMaster students. And we also have a couple minutes slideshow we want to show you, if we can get it up afterwards, on the building of our current observatory. Dan did some work digging in, and Victor digging out some old slides. So we've got that to show as well. So let's say we'll come back at 9:05. We'll give you 9 minutes. Okay, thanks. If you want to peruse the books, there are books for loan as well. If you are a member, you can sign out books. Take a look over there. If you haven't bought your 50/50 tickets yet as well, you can get those from Aaron up at the door.
Recording in progress.
Yes, we can hear you, Jane.
Okay, thank you. Okay, folks. All right. So we have two students from MacMaster University. We did sponsor you guys a couple years ago on a project, and you came and spoke about it in December, I think it was. So you're going to now tell us about a new project that you've got coming up. So if anybody has any questions as well as they're going, please just raise your hand, and hopefully you can answer anything. But if not, we'll get back to you on it, right? Okay, so I'll pass this over to you guys.
Sure. Yep.
Get away.
Perfect. My name is Mateo. I've been here a couple times now. You guys have met my partner Gabriel most of the time. He does most of the talking. But this is actually our co-president Shavin. I'm one of the mechanical co-leads working with Gabriel, but well, we're gonna kind of go over quick review of our previous project, what we accomplished, kind of the next steps that we want to take with this project, and yeah, we hope you guys like it. Oh, next slide. Okay, perfect. So for our previous project, we were working with SEDS Canada, which is a student-run organization, and our project was working in was setting up some sort of project to do in extraterrestrial conditions in a way that it can be modular and carried, and that it can be built on site. So we developed a radio telescope that we could pretty much take apart dish by dish, put in a bag, take with us wherever we needed to go, and then set it up there. A lot of it was through 3D printing and we bought a stand that we could pretty much program, point at any azimuth angle that we needed to point at, and then collect the data from there. So we invested quite a bit in this project, and it was honestly a really great experience for us to learn about astronomy itself, specifically for radio astronomy, how this sector of astronomy collects celestial data and what future stuff that we can do with it. So for our next slide, this is more technical data on how, I guess, we set up the electrical system. So radio waves would come to the dish, bounce off the dish into our feed horn, and then from there in our feed horn we'd have our antenna, and that'd be connected to an LNA, a low noise amplifier, and a filter. And then from there, we'd run it through a passband filter, an SDR, and then we'd get digital data from that. And for our project, we focused on the hydrogen 1 line specifically. So, you guys I'm sure you guys know this more than I do, but it's pretty much a characteristic celestial signal that you'll see all across any sort of celestial imaging. But yeah, so we process that data, and if you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, this was our little model. We had it set up in the actual telescope after, but this was kind of us configuring everything up. Next slide. Yes, please. Thank you. And these were the characteristic measurements that we were looking for our H1 peak. So the hydrogen 1 line is around the 140, 1400 hertz. And yeah, we found our peak that we were looking for when we were this was mainly for configuration testing when we were looking at the sun for our how do I say, for kind of just getting rid of as much background signal as possible. And when it came to actually going to the field, we went to Quebec. We went to northern Quebec, I think, right? Yeah, we went to northern Quebec. I think it was a 13-hour drive from here. So it was quite a long way, and spoke a lot of French with people there. Got to connect with a lot of people who were also interested in astronomy, and yeah, we have a couple of pictures of us on the mountaintops in Quebec, which are pretty cool. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this was our team. I'm the guy on the far left with the unfortunate hair. at the time, but that was our radio telescope that we built, and that was kind of hard to see because unfortunately it was a pretty cloudy day when we got there, but beautiful Quebec mountainside. And yeah, this was our team setting up the telescope. When we were collecting the data, a lot of promising things were found during our readings, but in terms of imaging and I guess graphing the data that we would have liked to see, we weren't able to get that far. We were able to collect a lot of data and validify our findings on like what we should look for in our, I guess, when we were looking for the H1 line, but definitely a lot of challenges. So yeah, pretty much our successes were we demonstrated that we can build a radio telescope pretty quickly, make it collapsible and functional. We were able to show that it can be used in analog environments, and we can take it out in the fields. We can take it. You'd probably want to get far away from city life and like any kind of as much pretty much interference as possible. But we were able to pretty much prove our concept, and yeah, also an incredible learning experience for us and our team. And some of our challenges were like our components. We had a couple failures along the way, like when we were actually in Quebec, some of our devices weren't working, and it added more friction to the project, but we got through it. And then manufacturing challenges as well. Currently for our team, we had pretty much just a 3D printer available to us. So we did as much as we could with that, and we were pretty proud of it, but definitely would like to use more, I guess, standard manufacturing processes for our telescopes in the future, and limited measurement capability. Not sure if it was because of us or the scope, but we do also realize that because we were using just one radio telescope, it's harder to just get data from that one spot, where we're just pretty much looking at one single data point wherever we track our dish. So this kind of leads into like what we are planning to do now for radio interferometry using multiple radio telescopes. So the next slide, please. I'll pass it on to Shavin. He'll give you guys a walkthrough.
Yeah, so at this point, we've found like the H1 line, which is the main emission from like stars. And we've like experimented a bit. We've put our feet in the water pretty much for radio astronomy. So what's next for us? Well, in this case, we decided we wanted to try and look more into imaging specifically, because so far we have a single pixel, basically, just that one antenna. It's able to get that one frequency spectrum that we saw, and then we were able to see a peak, but we aren't really able to get a nice image out of it. So how can we sort of resolve that? Next slide. So, well, we have flux. Oh, yeah. So we have flux measurements. This is what we were doing earlier. Essentially, it requires sufficient sensitivity to be able to detect the sort of changes that we're looking for. And we're comparing different radio signatures. So that's what we're looking at, where we just have a single pixel and we're looking for a peak. We also can look into imaging. So this is where we're taking either many different readings taken on different areas. So we can scan in a raster pattern. So sort of like how old CRTs work, with that one pixel and that one telescope to try and get a picture. And that requires a lot of fine pointing and a lot of precision. We need to make sure that we're tracking our object in the sky as well as scanning across. We can also use multiple telescopes with interferometry, and we're going to get into how that works shortly. Next slide. So many of you may be familiar with Arecibo. It was decommissioned a while back, but essentially this took the former approach of just being like a really large dish. So this is able to capture really nice images because of the size of the dish, and that's the main advantage that it has. So with interferometry, what we can do is sort of rework this approach by taking multiple smaller dishes and then stitching them all together. Next slide. So this is where we have multiple different telescope arrays, and there are several of these around the world. But we decided to sort of take it in a more community-driven approach. And we were thinking, how can we like sort of get other people involved in this as well and make it like a larger project than just us? So the concept we're focusing on is specifically on if we can maybe adapt our existing telescope design to be easy to like build and also be on a really cheap budget, even compared to what we did, then potentially we could build like an array that other people could network into, and sort of have several of these modular telescopes set up across a much larger area. So next slide. So just as a description of interferometry, this is just a small diagram over here of how it might work between two telescopes. So essentially we have this wavefront that approaches both telescopes at slightly different positions, and at slightly different time offsets. And if we know the time offset between the two, we can figure out the phase difference between the waves approaching at those two telescopes. And using that and a bit of math, we're able to reconstruct a signal from that. And by knowing where they're overlapping, we're able to get basically a much larger effective dish size by using these two smaller dish telescopes. And you can see what it says over there as the baseline. That's the distance between the two telescopes in the network. That length determines our resolution. So with longer baseline lengths, we can actually get a higher resolution. We're able to resolve more detail. It's essentially the same as making a really big dish instead of this multiple small dishes spaced far apart. Next slide. So that brings us to our tentative problem statement. So we want to try and design a simple open source radio telescope and interferometry software setup that can be deployed with relative ease and limited budget, to be linked into a larger array through collaboration with amateur astronomers. So this is sort of the goal of our next project that we're trying to work on here. Next slide. So that brings us to a very rough budget estimate initially. This is just for our prototyping. We just want to see how far we can get with this. We haven't like started 100% like any sort of concrete work on this project yet. So fair warning that these are just really like rough numbers here. So we're just estimating that our prototyping supplies are probably going to be a significant portion of the budget, just to see what it takes to actually build something that is capable of doing interferometry on this amateur level. So this will be sort of like 3D printing filament, whatever we need for our printers, any sort of machining stock that we might need to machine at our local machine shop, that sort of stuff. And then the mechanical supplies, electronics, and those will be for like our final product once we figure out how we're putting this together. And then we have our miscellaneous tools, anything that we might need to manufacture something like this, and potentially build like the software for it, stuff like that. And that gives us our total of like 2,200, just rough for now. Yeah. Next slide. And at this point, I'll hand it back to Matteo to explain the phases of our project.
Perfect. Thank you, Shavin. Yeah, so we are currently going to be taking our project into 4 different phases. Where we are right now is phase 1. So we're going to like begin our array assembly this year, and it's probably going to take us about a year, assuming like pretty generously like how much time it'll take us. And for our array assembly, what we are planning on doing is building and deploying radio telescopes, and setting up their networking and timing synchronization between them. So just getting them to work and getting them built and getting them to work. And then from there, we are also going to be developing a software platform for our telescopes. And this is going to be part of what we are offering for our open source project, in a way that we can, wherever we have our arrays set up, we can synchronize them and set them up where like at a celestial body. And then through this platform, receive the data and process it, and then hopefully get better and better data as we get more and more telescopes. From there, we are going to be doing like phase 3, which is going to be our calibration and testing. This is where we're actually going to see how well our system works with more and more telescopes. And then pretty much, yeah, whatever, like calibrating, we're going to be testing known celestial bodies and radio sources that we can like validate our data with. And then from there, we're going to be opening it up for open source deployment. And that means releasing our software and documentation publicly so other people can join in, they can contribute, they can give us feedback on things that we should improve on, and hopefully get more people engaged in building their own telescopes with what we do. And yeah, this is pretty much the phases that we plan to tackle. Next slide, please. And then for for like sources that we plan to like calibrate our devices with, it's going to be known celestial bodies like the sun, the moon. Next slide. Next slide, please. Sorry. And pretty much these are other projects that we've looked into on how they've built their radio telescopes. And we've looked into like geostationary satellites, kind of prototype radio telescopes, just using like a old TV dish. And some of these components that you'll see there are like Raspberry Pis and Arduinos that we've kind of worked with already in school, so we're pretty comfortable with. And yeah, we have honestly quite a bit of information about other schools and other organizations that have tried to have done stuff like this, but haven't exactly made it like what we want to do, which would be like open source and more valuable with more and more people using it. Next slide, please. So we're pretty much done our presentation. We are open to questions, though, anything that you guys would be interested in knowing. Yeah.
Are you hoping that other colleges and universities might get involved?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. You want to speak on that?
Sure. So ideally, the idea would be that like we want to try and get this to spread as far as possible, because if we can make a really large network of telescopes, that means we can get really nice pictures. We can get like a pretty viable resolution out of everything, and a pretty large field of view as well. So the idea is sort of like if you've heard of folding at home, for example, like it's a sort of software that can be run on your computer where you're able to fold proteins for like biomedical research. This would be something similar to that, but like for astronomy, where we're trying to spread it to other people, and potentially they would build their own at home and then try and set it up, and hopefully we can get a pretty large network of reasonable telescopes.
How big of a network are you hoping for? This could be like the European Southern Observatory or the Met Horizon Telescope or something like that.
I'd say that like as of right now, we're hoping like maybe just like province-wide or like within Canada, but we don't know where this project will take us. Like it's a pretty large, ambitious project, I say, for us. So like for now, we're gonna start like somewhat local, but then we'll see where it ends up. We aren't entirely sure about the size of the array that we'll end up with at the end of it. So with interferometry, it's really just a matter of making sure that all the signals are properly timestamped. So I think that'll come down to our software development. So we just need to, I pretty much will really need to be relying on NTP, Network Time Protocol, and like probably pretty accurate clocks. So that would be a major component of the telescopes that we're going to be setting up. So as long as we have like a good timestamp for like when each data point was taken, the math behind it can be done like on a server or something on the back end. Yeah.
You went to Quebec to get away from interference. So does that mean if someone gets involved with this, they have their own dish, let's say, connect them together, they have to all be in remote locations?
Yeah, so that is actually a really good question. So for sure, interference will be a concern. So ideally, like this sort of project would be pretty problematic if you're trying to set it up in like within an urban development. You wouldn't get as good pictures there as you would elsewhere. So that would require a lot of like signal processing, noise elimination. So we haven't like looked into the specifics too much as to like where we would be able to set it up. That would come from our testing throughout our phases. Like how much the interference from local environments matters when we have a larger array. But like the difference in this case is we no longer just have a single telescope, we have multiple. So even if one of them is a pretty noisy source, we can sort of work around that by stitching the information from the other telescopes ideally and get at least a reasonable picture, even if it might be like blurry in one particular area. Yeah.
If another institution or somebody wants to get involved, would they need their telescope based on the one you've already had success with, that size, that height?
I would say that like the idea is we're gonna sort of prepare a blueprint for everyone to follow, so that way, if we can standardize it, we're able to keep all the math behind it consistent, right? It's as long as they're all standardized units, then we know what we're dealing with, so the repeatability is much higher. Yeah. Yep.
You're still planning to go ahead and use the 21-centimeter hydrogen line?
We haven't necessarily looked at like specifically what we're going to analyze with this array. So this array would be like a long-term project. It could analyze multiple things. So like Matteo showed earlier, for testing purposes, we would look at the sun for the hydrogen line for sure, but potentially we might also look at other objects.
So it wasn't actually the obvious you were, I was just thinking to be able to build a good interferometer, you have to know precisely the baseline to within a fraction of the wavelength you're actually observing at. So with a 21-centimeter hydrogen line, that's the wavelength that was there. So you have to know your location of the dish to within probably 4 or 5 centimeters, which gets you in the range of GPS to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you shorten the wavelength, you're going to go ahead and have extreme difficulty locating on the baselines of what you've got accurately enough to have reasonable data. So the 21-centimeter hydrogen line that you were observing before that you were pointing out, like what 14, 20 megahertz.
Yes.
It looks to be a reasonable compromise. So that was why I was wondering if
Yeah.
you were going to go ahead and do the same thing. And also, you know, the oval dishes that we're all used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Got three of the damn things that and carry it home. So you know, I could put two in my garden if you want, and hook up to your network. If you use GPS, I can let you know to within
Yes.
5 centimeters exactly where that is, and then again using GPS as your timestamp to be able to go ahead and do it. So then you don't have to worry about which NTP server you're getting to, because that could be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like what you're doing is reasonable, but you've got to choose your wavelength very carefully, because if you try to go too short, you're not going to be able to accurately measure.
Yes. Yeah, that would definitely be something that we have to consider. So we would definitely like I would say we would probably continue with using the same wavelength. Yeah.
Because I mean, you've already got some experience.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the LNAs, the low noise amplifiers that you built, they were specifically designed for.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the antenna has to be cut.
Yeah, we cut the antenna to length for that wavelength.
Right, okay. All right. I'd be, so I live 400 kilometers away. So you know, if you want to do one wavelength, I'd be happy to help.
We'd be happy to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, like I said earlier, we haven't like gotten too in depth with this project just yet. So in terms of like the technical numbers, I wouldn't be able to like provide a concrete answer to that. But like we're aiming for, I would say like a reasonable amount, like as in province-wide or countrywide. I don't know what that would end up being specifically in terms of. Yes.
And then to be able to scale that, because we're, you know, 15,000.
Yes. We would definitely look into like similar arrays that have been done through like elsewhere, and that's what sort of what we're taking inspiration from for this sort of project.
Have any arrays ever been constructed? Dish you're using, or like a bird? I've just never seen dishes used that are that small.
I don't believe. Yeah, I don't believe there have been any arrays constructed at the size that we're using, just because like the size that we're working with is really small, just for like budget reasons, and like just because we're
Right. So yeah, you're an experiment.
yeah. So this is experimental. Yeah.
If you were to guess, how long before you actually send out requests asking people or institutions to be involved?
I would say probably like maybe like this next year, like we said, we're going to be working on developing this and like trying to see where we can go with it. But maybe if we're looking at like beta testing per se, it would probably be potentially the year after that or the year after that itself. So like maybe 2 or 3 years from now. Yeah.
What do you say about the longevity of the project?
So in this case with longevity, we were wondering about that as well. So we are thinking about like how we might manage that. I think it will come down to potentially reaching out to MacMaster to make sure that like whatever server it's being hosted on is maintained. So like with our campus technology services, so like the network will still be operational. In terms of longevity of the project, we aren't entirely sure like what sort of timeline we'd be seeing this operational for, but hopefully like a good amount of time to get some nice observations from it. But yeah, like this is obviously a long-term project, so it will have to pass through at least a few I would say different members of our exec team, different generations of students. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Have you considered building like a trip scan sort of array? So rather than having a two-dimensional interferometer that you've got where the things are scattered, if you like, around the field, if you put them in a north-south line and just point them up, the sky will then go ahead naturally and just right up its top. And if they're all pointed in a slightly different direction, you can then build up over time a picture of the sky depending on how many you've got. That will, I would think, teach you many things about data acquisition over using multiple telescopes, but then simplify considerably the sort of map that would be involved to go ahead and generate a picture. That will be, I would think, like the next thing to do before you decide you're going to go ahead and build, an area array for a one line, so like a single line, just pointing straight up, and then just have the sky move over. Might want to consider doing that to make things considerably easier.
Yeah. I think that definitely be worth considering. We hadn't actually thought about that, but we'll definitely take it into account. For this project, we were just thinking about like how we could take our previous project a step further, really. So yeah, we can definitely, like for testing purposes at the very least, set them up in a line and try and get pictures that way. And then from there, we could look into actually what it would take to set up interferometry with telescopes in like multiple different locations. So that would definitely be something we'd consider. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. That was fascinating. You definitely have to keep us looped in too, because I think we might have a few people that want to help here. So yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody. Yes, we'll be in touch then. We'll review it internally as a team and see what we can do to help contribute to your project. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. And then so we've got one more thing to show you, if you can bear with us. We've got about a slideshow. It's about 10 minutes, I think, roughly. If we can get it up to you. So this is on the Hamilton RASC website. If you want to go back and look at it after, you can. But essentially what it is all of the slides of when the observatory was being built. So it's, because you might see some familiar faces in these slides. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, we'd like some help identifying people if you know them. So I'll repeat it for those online. If you recognize anybody in these pictures, yeah, please send an email to Victor or the outreach email address, outreach@hamiltonrasc.ca. Yeah. No, that was a bit before my time, I think. Or I was just being born, probably just about. So this is from, yeah, no, a little bit before that. Are you kicked out? Oh, okay. Bear with us a second and we'll get it up on the screen. But yeah, it's fairly quick. It's about 10 minutes. Yeah, maybe not. Everybody look away. While we're waiting again, if you haven't bought your 50/50 ticket, or we can, Aaron, I don't know if you want to do that while we're waiting. Okay, come on up. We'll do that just until Dan gets it up on the screen here. Again, look away, look away. I know, I'm teasing. Okay, so if those online, just bear with us again for a moment, please. And we're going to do the 50/50 draw. I don't have to do my awkward end of the night speech tonight, which is great. Anyways, thank you for everyone who did purchase tickets tonight. It does help us have a space to kind of hang out together and have our meetings and stuff, which is always nice. Like coming and being social and hanging out with you guys. So the price tonight is $37.50. So that's always nice, little bit of pocket change there for you. Really do a shuffle in here. And we have 474335. Hey, congratulations. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I trust you. Yes, here's your coins.
I got coins too.
You can even keep your winning ticket. You can frame it. I can put it in the garbage if you want. Yeah.
$5 for anything you wanted to charge me 20.
I'll go sit down now. That's cool. Should I do a song? I'm not singing and dancing. I lied to all of you. Okay. Yeah, sure. So that was Dan that put that together. So did a really good job, and I love the choice of music there at the end. Hopefully everyone online can hear the music that went with it. If not, hum along if you want to watch it again. It is on our website. If you want to take a look at it again, it's on there on the main page. It's scrolling past. You just click on it and you can take a look. So yeah, we need volunteers if you want. Anyways, that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks everybody for coming out. If we can ask if you could help just to put the chairs away, just to carry your chair to the side. And remember, we will be back in April, and it will be movie night. So come on out to watch a movie. It'll be lots of fun. But we'll send out some information about that as we get closer to the date. Okay. Oh, if Erin, I think Erin's going drinking. She's doing the drinking symbol over there. If anybody wants, we do go to the District Kitchen and Bar, 2 lights down, just across the street. Sorry, that way. I don't know what way I am. That way. So pull out and turn right and go 2 lights. And it's on the left-hand side. If anybody wants to join us, we go there for a couple of drinks. Feel free to stop by, come talk astronomy. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody online. Have a good evening.